Sick as a Dog is part of a really important batch of Arthur episodes. Most Arthur episodes have, good morals and lessons in them, but I think these two more than ever are pretty important. The first one is Arthur's chickenpox. That's the first segment in this 18th episode, and it's really an important episode for informing children about what chickenpox is, what they can expect from it, and make them feel like they're not alone if they do have chickenpox. Sick as a Dog could potentially save a dog's life, because it's all about Pal, who has become quite unwell, and Arthur has to take him to the vet. And when Arthur finds out that Pal has to stay overnight, he gets a little bit upset, and I can completely understand that. And the thought of being away from my cat for a night is just horrific. And to have them in a vet's is, granted, it's the safest place for them, but obviously a very lonely place. And it's quite an emotional episode because of that, because Arthur's really worried about Pal. We don't necessarily know what's wrong with Pal to begin with, even though I think for me, watching it as an adult, it was very obvious what was wrong with Pal. But when I was younger, maybe it wouldn't have been quite so obvious, and that makes the lesson all the more important. I'll discuss that in a moment with a spoiler warning and tell what the actual outcome of it was. But it's definitely an episode that can make children feel less alone if they have a pet that's unwell. They can find comfort in knowing that Arthur is going through something similar, and it's also really important for helping to save a pet's life. So the spoiler from now, I'm going to explain what was wrong with Pal. Pal was unwell because Arthur had been feeding him all kinds of things, mostly human food, but Pal had also swallowed some things he shouldn't have done. And the vet kind of, I assume, did something to flush out Pal's system and told Arthur that Pal has his own dog food and he shouldn't eat human food. And I think all of us with a pet is guilty of giving them human food, probably more than we should. But it's definitely something that young children can benefit from learning about, because when you're young you don't understand the dangers of, if it's safe for a human to eat, why can a dog not eat it? It's obviously quite a complex thing for a young child to understand, and it's a really important message that, as I said, could save a dog's life. If a child happened to give their dog an entire Easter egg or something, I imagine the consequences, depending on the breed and health of the dog, could be quite dire. And it's really important, and it's such a, for most of us, it's such common knowledge when we get older that animals shouldn't eat that much human food. But for younger, I used to give cats toast and everything. So I think it's a really, really important message, even more important than Arthur's chickenpox, of course. And it is emotional, and it is sentimental. It's not the most kind of developed episode. It doesn't have too much going on about it. It didn't really look at how Arthur felt once he was away from Pal or anything. They could have done a bit more with it, but at the same time, given the 10 minutes or so that it lasts for, I think they managed to get the pacing quite right. They made it emotional without making it too traumatizing. DW had a very careless attitude, but it added a sprinkle of humour into what was otherwise kind of a depressing episode. And of course, as a viewer, you don't want anything bad to happen to Pal, because Pal's a very cute character. So I enjoyed it from an entertainment perspective. I thought it was well done, well developed. But from a more emotional side and important messaging, Sick as a Dog is definitely a really essential episode of Arthur.